Hello, okay. So, Prometheus Unbound, Act 2, Scene Morning, a lovely valley in the Indian Caucasus. Asia alone. Asia, from all the blasts of heaven thou hast descended. Yes, like a spirit, like a thought, which makes unwanted tears throng to horny eyes. And beatings haunt the desolated heart, which should have learnt repose. Thou hast descended, cradled in tempests. Thou dost wake, O spring, O child of many winds, as suddenly thou comest as the memory of a dream, which now is sad because it hath been sweet, like genius, or like joy which riseth up as from the earth, clothing with golden clouds the desert of our life. This is the season, this is the day, the hour. At sunrise thou shouldest come, sweet sister mine, to long desired, to long delaying, come. How like death worms the wingless moments crawl, the point of one white star's quivering still, deep in the orange light of widening morn, beyond the purple mountains, through a chasm of wind-divided mist, the darker lake reflects it. Now it wanes, it gleams again as the waves fade, and as the burning threads of woven cloud unravel in pale air. 'Tis lost, and through yon peaks of cloud-like snow, the roseate sunlight quivers. I hear I not the aeolian music of her sea-green plumes, winnowing the crimson dawn? Panthea enters. I feel, I see, those eyes which burn through smiles that fade in tears, like stars half quenched in mists of silver dew, beloved and most beautiful, who wearest the shadow of that soul by which I live. How late thou art! The spirited sun have climbed, the sphered sun had climbed the sea. My heart was sick with hope before the printless air felt thy belated plumes. Panthea. Pardon, great sister, but my wings were faint with the delight of a remembered dream, as are the noontide plumes of summer winds, satiate with sweet flowers. I was wont to sleep peacefully and awake refreshed and calm before the sacred Titan's fall, and thy unhappy love had made, through use and pity, both love and woe familiar to my heart, as they had grown to thine, erewhile I slept under the glaucous caverns of old ocean, within dim bowers of green and purple moss. Our young Ione's soft and milky arms locked then, as now, behind my dark, moist hair, while my shut eyes and cheek were pressed within the folded depth of her life-breathing bosom. But not as now, since I am made the wind which fails beneath the music that I bear of thy most wordless converse, since dissolved into the sense with which love talks. My rest was troubled and yet sweet, my waking hours too full of care and pain. Asia, lift up thine eyes and let me read thy dream. Panthea, as I have said, with our sea sister at his feet I slept. The mountain mists condensing at our voice under the moon, had spread their snowy flakes from the keen ice shielding our linked sleep. Then two dreams came. One I remember not, but in the other his pale, wound-worn limbs fell from Prometheus, and azure night grew radiant with the glory of that form which lives unchanged within, and his voice fell like music which makes giddy the dim brain, which makes giddy the dim brain, faint with intoxication of keen joy, sister of her whose footsteps pave the world with loveliness more fair than aught but her, whose shadow thou art. Lift thine eyes on mine. I lifted them. The overpowering light of that immortal shape was shadowed over by love, which from his soft and flowing limbs and passion parted lips and keen faint eyes steamed forth like vaporous fire, an atmosphere which wrapped me in its all dissolving power, and the warm ether of the morning sun wraps ere it drinks some cloud of wandering dew. I saw not, heard not, moved not, only felt his presence flow and mingle through my blood, till it became his life and grew mine. And I was thus absorbed until it passed, and like the vapors when the sun sinks down, gathering again in drops upon the pines, and like the vapors when the sun sinks down, gathering again in drops upon the pines, and tremulous as they in the deep night, my being was condensed, and as the rays of thought were slowly gathered, I could hear his voice, whose accents lingered ere they died like footsteps of weak melody. Thy name among the many sounds alone I heard of what might be articulated, though still I listened through the night when sound was none. I only wakened then, and said to me, canst thou divine what troubles me tonight? I always knew what I desired before, nor ever found delight to wish in vain. But now I cannot tell thee what I seek. I know not. Something sweet, since it's sweet even to desire. It's thy sport, false sister. Thou hast discovered some enchantment old, whose spells have stolen my spirits as I slept, and mingled it with thine. For when just now we kissed, I felt within thy parted lips the sweet air that sustained me, and the warmth of the lifeblood, for loss of which I faint, quivered between our entwining arms. I answered not. No, for the eastern star grew pale, but fled to thee. Asia, thou speakest, but thy words are as the air. I feel them not. Oh, lift thine eyes, that I may read his written soul. Panthea, I lift them, though they droop beneath the load of that they would express. What canst thou see but thine own fairest shadow imagined there? Asia, thine eyes are like the deep, blue, boundless heaven contracted to two circles underneath, their long, fine lashes, dark, far, measureless, orb within orb, and line through line inwoven. Panthea, why lookest thou as if a spirit passed? Asia, there is a chance beyond their inmost depth. I see a shade, a shape, 'tis he, arrayed in the soft light of his own smiles, which spread like radiance from the cloud-surrounded moon. Prometheus, it is thine. Depart not yet. Depart not yet. Say not those smiles that we shall meet again within thy say not those smiles that we shall meet again within that bright pavilion which their beams shall build over the waste world. The dream is told. What shape is that between us? Its rude hair roughens the wind that lifts it. Its regard is wild and quick, yet 'tis a thing of air. For through its grey robe gleams the golden dew, whose stars the noon has quenched not. Dream. Follow. Follow. Panthea. It is mine. Other dream. Asia. It disappears. Panthea. It passes now into my mind. Methought as we sat here, the flower enfolding buds burst on yon lightning-blasted almond tree, when swift from the white Scythian wilderness a wind swept forth, wrinkling the earth with frost. I looked, and all the blossoms were blown down, but on each leaf was stamped, as the blue bells of Hyacinth tells Apollo's written grief. Oh, follow, oh, follow. Asia. As you speak, your words fill, pause by pause, my own forgotten sleep, with shapes methought among these lawns together. We wandered underneath the young grey dawn, and multitudinous of dense, white fleecy clouds were wandering in thick flocks along the mountains, shepherded by the slow, unwilling wind, and the white dew on the new-bladed grass, just piercing the dark earth, hung silently, and there was more which I remembered not. But on the shadows of the morning clouds athwart the purple mountain slope was written, Follow, follow, as they vanished by, and on each herb from which heaven's dew had fallen, the like was stamped, as with a withering fire, and wind arose among the pines. It shook the clinging music from their bows, and then, low, sweet, faint sounds like the farewell of ghosts were heard. Oh, follow, follow, follow me. And then I said, Panthea, look on me. But in the depth of those beloved eyes, still I saw, follow, follow. Echo. Follow, follow. Panthea. The crags, this clear spring morning, mock our voices as they were spirit-tongued. Asia. It is some being around the crags. What fine, clear sounds. Oh, list! Echoes, unseen. Echoes. We listen. We cannot stay. As dew stars glisten, then fade away. Child of ocean. Asia. Hark! Spirits speak. The liquid responses of their aerial tongues yet sound. Panthea. I hear. Echoes. Oh, follow. Follow. As our voice recedeth through the cavern's hollow, where the forest spreadeth. More distant. Oh, follow. follow through the caverns hollow. As the song floats, thou pursue where the wild bee never flew. Through the noontide darkness deep, by the odor-breathing sleep of faint night flowers, and the waves and the fountain-lighted caves, while our music wild and sweet mocks thy gently falling feet, child of ocean. Asia, shall we pursue the sound? It grows more faint and distant. Panthea, list, the string floats nearer now. Echoes. In the world unknown sleeps a voice unspoken by thy step alone. Can it rest? Can its rest be broken, child of ocean? Asia. How the notes sink upon the ebbing wind. Echoes. Oh, follow, follow. Through the caverns hollow, as the song floats thou pursue. By the woodland noontide dew, by the forests, lakes, and fountains, through the many-folded mountains, to the rents and gulfs and chasms, where the earth reposed from spasms, on the day when he and thou parted to commingle now, child of ocean. Asia, come, sweet Panthea, link thy hand in mine, and follower the follow, and follower the voices fade away. Scene 2, a forest intermingled with rocks and caverns. Asia and Panthea pass into it. Two young fauns are sitting on a rock listening. Semi-chorus 1 of spirits. The path through which that lovely twain have passed, by cedar, pine, and yew, and each dark tree that ever grew, is curtained out from heaven's wide blue. Nor sun, nor moon, nor wind, nor rain can pierce its interwoven bars, nor aught save where some cloud of dew drifted along the earth creeping breeze. Between the trunks of the hoar trees hangs each a pearl in the pale flowers of the green laurel blown anew, and bends and then fades silently, one frail and fair anemone, or when some star of many in one that climbs and wanders through steep night has found a cleft through which alone beams fall from high those depths upon earth's borne away, away by the swift heavens that cannot stay. It scatters drops of golden light like lines of rain that never unite, and the gloom divine is all around, and underneath is the messy, mossy ground. Semi-chorus 2. There the voluptuous nightingales are awake through all the broad noonday, when one with bliss or sadness fails, and through the windless ivy boughs, sick with sweet love, droops dying away on its mate's music panting bosom, another from the swinging blossom, watching to catch the languid close of the last strain, then lifts on high the wings of the weak melody, till some new strain of feeling bear the song, and all the woods are mute, when there is heard through the dim air the rush of wings, and rising there like many a lake-surrounded flute, sounds overflow with listeners' brains so sweet that joy is almost pain. Semi-chorus 1. There those enchanted eddies play of echoes music-tongued, which draw by Demogorgon's mighty law, with melting rapture or sweet awe, all spirits on that secret way, as inland boats are driven to ocean, down streams made strong with mountain thaw. And first there comes a gentle sound to those in talk or slumber bound, and wakes the destined soft emotion, attracts, impels them, those who saw, say from the breathing earth behind, there streams, there steams a plume uplifting wind, which drives them on their path, while they believe their own swift wings and feet, the sweet desires within obey, and so they float upon their way until still sleep, but loud and strong, the storm of sound is driven along, sucked up and hurrying, as they fleet behind its gathering billows meet, and to the fatal mountain bear like clouds amid the yielding air. First Faun.
Canst thou imagine where those spirits
live, which make such delicate music in the woods? We haunt within the least frequented caves, and closeth coverts, and closest, and closet, and closet coverts, and closet, closeth, closet coverts, closet closest, closest, coverts, and we know these wilds, yet never meet them, though we hear them oft. Where may they hide themselves? First Faun. Canst thou imagine where those spirits live which make such delicate music in the woods? Canst thou imagine where those spirits live which make such delicate music in the woods? We haunt within the least frequented caves, and closeth coverts, and we know these wilds, yet never meet them, though we hear them oft. Where may they hide themselves? Second Faun. 'Tis hard to tell. I have heard those more skilled in spirits say, the bubbles which the enchantment of the sun sucks from the pale faint water flowers that pave the oozy bottom of clear lakes and pools, are the pavilions where such dwell and float under the green and golden atmosphere which noontide kindles through the woven leaves, and when these burst, and the thin fiery air, the which they breathed within those lucent domes, ascends to flow like meteors through the night, they ride on them, and rein their headlong speed, and bow their burning crests, and glide in fire under the waters of the earth again. First Faun.
if such live thus, have others
Other lives, under pink blossoms or within the bells of meadow flowers or folded violets deep, or on their dying odors when they die, or in the sunlight of the spirited dew? Second Faun. Aye, many more which we may well divine, but should we stay to speak, noontide would come, and thwart Silenus find his goats undrawn, and grudge to sing those wise and lovely songs of fate and chance, and God and chaos old, and love, and the chained Titan's woeful doom, and how he shall be loosened and make the earth one brotherhood, delightful strains which cheer our solitary twilights, and which charm to silence the unenvying nightingales. Scene 3. A pinnacle of rock among mountains. Asia and Panthea. Panthea. Hither the sound has borne us, to the realm of Demogorgon, and the mighty portal like a volcano's meteor-breathing chasm whence the oracular vapor is hurled up, which lonely men drink wandering in their youth, and call truth, virtue, love, genius, or joy, that maddening wine of life, those, that maddening wine of life, whose dregs they drain to deep intoxication and uplift, like Maenads who cry loud, Evo, Evo, EVOE. The voice which is contagion to the world. Asia. Fit throne for such a power, magnificent. How glorious art thou, earth! And if thou be the shadow of some spirit lovelier still, though evil stain its work, and it should be, like its creation, weak yet beautiful, I could fall down and worship that and thee. Even now my heart adoreth. Wonderful, look, sister, the vapor dim thy brain. Beneath is a wide plain of billowy mist, as a lake paving in the morning sky, with azure waves which burst in silver light. Some Indian valley, behold it, rolling on under the curdling winds, and islanding the peak whereon we stand, midway around, encinctured by the dark and blooming forest, dim twilight lawns and stream-illumined caves, and wind-enchanted shapes of wandering mist, and far on high and keen sky-cleaving mountains from icy spires of sunlight radiance fling. The dawn has lifted ocean's dazzling spray from some Atlantic islet scattered up, spangles the wind with lamp-like water drops. The valley is girdled with their walls. A howl of cataracts from their thaw-cloven ravines satiates the listening wind, continuous, vast, awful as silence. Hark, the rushing snow, the sun-awakened avalanche, whose mass, thrice sifted by the storm, had gathered there, flake after flake, in heaven-defying minds, as thought by thought is piled, till some great truth is loosened, and the nations echo round, shaken to their roots, as do the mountains now. Look, how the gusty sea of mist is breaking in crimson foam. Even at our feet it rises as ocean at the enchantment of the moon. Round foodless men wrecked on some oozy isle. Asia. The fragments, for clarity's sake. Panthea. Look how the gusty sea of mist is breaking in crimson foam. Even at our feet it rises as ocean at the enchantment of the moon. Round foodless men wrecked on some oozy isle. Asia. The fragments of the clouds are scattered up. The wind that lifts them entwines my hair. Its billows now sweep over mine eyes. My brain grows dizzy. Seest thou shapes within the mist? Panthea. A countenance with beckoning smiles. There burns an azure fire within its golden locks. Another and another, hark, they speak. Song of spirits, to the deep, to the deep, down, down, through the shade of sleep, through the cloudy strife of death and of life, through the veil and the bar of things which seem and are, even to the steps of the remotest throne, down, down, while the sun sound whirls around, down, down, as the fawn draws the hound, as the lightning the vapor, as the wheat moth to taper, death, despair, love, sorrow, time, both, today, tomorrow, as steel obeys the spirit of the stone, down, down, through the gray, void abysm, down, down, where the air is no prism, and the moon and stars are not, and the cavern crags wear not the radiance of heaven, nor the gloom to earth given, where there is one pervading, one alone, down, down, in the depth of the deep, down, down, like the veiled lightning asleep, like the spark nursed in embers, the last look love remembers, like a diamond which shines on the dark wealth of minds. A spell is treasured, but for thee alone, down, down. We have bound thee, we guide thee, down, down. With the bright form beside thee, resist not the weakness. Such strength is in meekness that the eternal, the immortal, must unloosen through life's portal the snake-like doom coiled underneath his throne by that alone. Scene 4. The Cave of Demogorgon, Asia and Panthea. Panthea. What veiled form sits on that ebon throne? Asia. Asia. The veil has fallen. Panthea. I see a mighty darkness filling the seat of power, and rays of gloom dart round, as light from the meridian sun ungazed upon the shapeless, neither limb nor form nor outline, yet we feel it is a living spirit. Demogorgon.
Ask what thou wouldest know.
Asia. What canst thou tell?
All things thou darest demand.
Who made the living world?
God.
Who made all that it contains? Thought, passion, reason, will, imagination.
God. Almighty God.
Who made that sense which, when the winds of spring in rarest visitation, or the voice of one beloved heard in youth alone, fills the faint eyes with falling tears which dim the radiant looks of unbewailing flowers, and leaves this peopled earth a solitude when it returns no more?
Merciful God.
And who made terror, madness, crime, remorse, which from the links of the great chain of things to every thought within the mind of man sway and drag heavily, and each one reels under the load towards the pit of death, abandoned hope, and love that turns to hate, and self-contempt, bitter to drink than blood, pain, whose unheeded and familiar speech is howling and keen shrieks day after day, and hell, or the sharp fear of hell.
He reigns.
Utter his name, a world pining in pain, asks but his name, curses shall drag him down.
He reigns.
I feel I know it. Who?
He reigns.
Who reigns? There was the heaven and earth at first, and night and love, then Saturn, from whose throne time fell. An envious shadow, such the state of the earth's primal spirits beneath his sway, as the calm joy of flowers and living leaves before the wind or sun has withered them, and semi-vital worms, but he refused the birthright of their being, knowledge, power, the skill which welds the elements, the thought which pierces this dim universe like light, self-empire, and the majesty of love, for thirst of which they fainted. Then Prometheus gave wisdom, which is strength, to Jupiter, and with this law alone let man be free, clothed him with the dominion of wide heaven, to know nor faith, nor love, nor law. To be omnipotent but friendless is to reign. And Jove now reigned, for on the race of man first famined, and then toil, and then disease, strife, wounds, and ghastly death unseen before fell, and the unseasonable fell, and the unseasonable seasons drove with alternating shafts of frost and fire their shelterless pale tribes to mountain caves, and in their desert hearts fierce wants he sent, and mad disquietude, and shadows idle of unreal good, which levied mutual war. So ruining the lair within they raged. Prometheus saw, and waked the legioned hoped, and waked the legioned hopes, which sleep within folded Elysian flowers. The Panthea, Molly, Amaranth, fadeless blooms, that they might hide with thine and rainbow wings the shape of death and love he sent to bind the disunited tendrils of that vine, which bears the wine of life, the human heart, and he tamed fire, which, like some beast of prey, most terrible but lovely, played beneath the frown of man, and tortured to his will iron and gold, the slaves and signs of power, and gems and poisons, and all subtlest forms hidden beneath the mountains and the waves. He gave man speech, and speech created thought, which is the measure of the universe, and science struck the thrones of earth and heaven, which shook but fell not, and the harmonious mind poured itself forth in all prophetic song. Music lifted up the listening spirit until it walked, exempt from mortal care, godlike over the clear billows of sweet sound and human hands first mimicked and then mocked, with molded limbs more lovely than its own, the human form, till marble grew divine, and mothers, gazing, drank the love men see reflected in their race, behold, and perish. He told the hidden power of herbs and springs and dis-ease, drank and slept. Death grew like sleep. He taught the implicated orbits woven of the wide wandering stars, and how the sun changes his layer, and by what secret spell the pale moon is transformed when her broad eye gazes not on the interlunar sea. He taught to rule as life directs the limbs, the tempest winged chariots of the ocean, and the CELT knew the Indian cities then were built, and through their snow-like columns flowed the warm winds, and the azure ether shone, and the blue sea and shadowy hills were seen, such the alleviations of his state Prometheus gave to man, for which he hangs, withering in destined pain, but who rains down evil, the immedicable plague, which, while man looks on his creation like a god, and sees that it's glorious, drives him on, the wreck of his own will, the scorn of earth, the outcast, the abandoned, the alone, not drove, while yet his frown shook heaven high when cursed him. He trembled like a slave. Declare, who is his master? Is he too a slave?
All spirits are enslaved which serve things evil. Thou knowest if Jupiter be such or no.
Whom callest thou God?
I spoke, but as ye speak, for Jove is the supreme of living things.
Who is the master of the slave?
If the abysm could vomit forth its secrets, but a voice is wanting. The deep truth is imageless, for what would it avail to bid thee gaze on the revolving world? What to bid speak fate, time, occasion, chance, and change? To these all things are subject, but eternal love.
So much I asked before, and my heart gave that response thou hast given, and of such truths, each to itself must be the oracle. One more demand, and do thou answer me as mine own soul would answer. Did it know that which I speak? Prometheus shall arise, henceforth the son of this rejoicing world. When shall the destined hour arrive?
Behold,
The rocks are cloven, and through the purple night I see cars drawn by rainbow-winged steeds, which trample the dim winds. In each there stands a wild-eyed charioteer urging their flight. Some look behind as fiends pursued them there, and yet I see no shapes but the keen stars. Others with burning eyes lean forth and drink with eager lips the wind of their own speed, as if the thing they loved fled on before, and now, even now, they clasped it. Their bright locks stream like a comet's flashing hair. They all sweep onward.
These are the immortal hours of whom thou didst demand. One waits for thee.
The spirit with a dreadful countenance checks its dark chariot by the craggy gulf. Unlike thy brethren, ghastly charioteer, who art thou? Whither wouldst thou bear me? Speak. Spirit. I am the shadow of destiny, more dread than is my aspect ere yon planet has sent. The darkness which ascends with me shall wrap in lasting night heaven's kingless throne. Asia, which Asia, Asia, what meanest thou? Panthea, that terrible shadow floats up from its throne, as may the lurid smoke of earthquake-ruined cities over the sea. Lo, it ascends the car. The coursers fly terrified, watch its path among the stars, blackening the night. Asia, thus I am answered. Strange. Panthea. See, near the verge, another chariot stays, an ivory shell inlaid with crimson fire which comes and goes within the sculptured rim of delicate strange tracery. The young spirit that guides it has the dove-like eyes of hope. How its soft smiles attracts the soul as light lures winged insects through the lampless air. Spirit. My coursers are fed with the lightning. They drink of the whirlwind stream, and when the red morning is brightening, they bathe in the fresh sunbeam. They have strength for their swiftness, I deem. Then ascend with me, daughter of ocean. I desire, and their speed makes night kindle. I fear they outstrip the typhoon, or the cloud piled on Atlas can dwindle. We encircle the earth and the moon. We shall rest from long labors at noon. Then ascend with me, daughter of ocean. Scene 5. The car pauses within a cloud on the top of a snowy mountain. Asia, Panthea, and the spirit of the hour. Spirit. On the brink of the night and the morning, my coursers are wont to respire, but the earth has just whispered a warning that their flight must be swifter than fire. They shall drink the hot speed of desire. Asia, thou breathest on their nostrils, but my breath would give them swifter speed. Spirit, alas, it could not. Panthea, O Spirit, pause and tell whence is the light which fills this cloud. The sun is yet unrisen. Spirit, the sun will rise not until noon. Apollo is held in heaven by wonder, and the light which fills this vapor, as the aerial hue of fountain gazing roses fills the water, flows from thy mighty sister, Panthea. Yes, I feel. Asia. What is it with thee, sister? Thou art pale. Panthea. How thou art changed. I dare not look on thee. I feel but see not thee. I scarce endure the radiance of thy beauty. Some good change is working in the elements which suffer thy presence thus unveiled. The Nereids and Ereids tell that on the day when the clear hyaline, Hyaline, was cloven at thine uprise, and thou didst stand within a veined shell which floated on over the calm floor of the crystal sea, among the Aegean isles, and by the shores which bear thy name, love, like the atmosphere of the sun's fire, filling the living world, burst from thee, and illumined earth and heaven, and the deep ocean, and the sunless caves, and all that dwells within them, till grief cast eclipse upon the soul from which it came. Such art thou now, nor is it I alone, thy sister, thy companion, thine own chosen one, but the whole world which seeks thy sympathy. Hearest thou not sounds I, the air which speak the love of all articulate beings? Feelest thou not the inanimate winds enamored of thee? List. Music. Asia. Thy words are sweeter than aught else but is. Who echoes they are, yet all love is sweet, given or returned, common as light is love, and its familiar voice varies not ever, like the wide heaven, the all-sustaining air. It makes the reptile equal to the god. They who inspire it most are fortunate, as I am now, but those who feel it most are happier still, after long sufferings, as I shall soon become. Panthea, list, spirits, speak. Voices in the air singing. Life of life, thy lips enkindle with their love, the breath between them, and thy smiles before they dwindle make the cold air fire, then screen them in those looks where whoso gazes faints, entangled in mazes. Child of light, thy limbs are burning through the vest which seems to hide them, as the radiant lines of morning through the clouds or they divide them, and this atmosphere divinest shrouds thee whosoever thou shinest. Fair are others, none beholds thee, but thy voice sounds low and tender, like the fairest, for it folds thee from the sight that liquid splendor, and all feel yet see thee never, as I feel now lost forever. Lamp of earth, wherever thou movest, its dim shapes are clad with brightness, and the souls of whom thou lovest walk upon the winds with lightness, till they fail, as I am failing, dizzy, lost, yet unbewailing. Asia, my soul is an enchanted boat, which, like a sleeping swan, doth float upon the silver waves of thy sweet singing, and thine doth, like an angel, sit beside a helm conducting it, whilst all the winds and melody are ringing. It seems to float ever, forever, upon that many winding river, between mountains, woods, abysses, a paradise of wildernesses. till like one in slumber bound, borne to the ocean, I float down, around, into a sea profound of ever spreading sound. Meanwhile, thy spirit lifts its pinions in music's most serene dominions, catching the winds that fan that happy heaven, and we sail on, away, afar, without a course, without a star, but by the instinct of sweet music driven, till through Elysian garden inlets, by thee, most beautiful of pilots, where never mortal pennants glided, the boat of my desires guided, realms where the air we breathe is love, which in the winds and on the ways doth move, harmonizing this earth with what we feel above. We have passed ages' icy caves and manhood's dark and tossing waves, and youth's smooth ocean smiling to betray. Beyond the glassy gulfs we flee of shadow-peopled infancy, through death and birth to a diviner day, a paradise of vaulted bowers lit by downward gazing flowers, and watery paths that wind between wildernesses calm and green, peopled by shapes too bright to see and rest, having beheld somewhat like thee, walk upon the sea and chant melodiously. End of second act.